Hello there and welcome to this week's edition of Creative Critique. Now the theatrical release film I went to this week is a film whose success, who apparently no critics saw coming. Well, to me, a mass audience that has gone to see it and enjoyed this film, we were not surprised. Why weren't we surprised? Because I'm no expert on the source material of the comic book character of Deadpool, but from everything friends have told me or from stuff I've read up, its source material was going to provide ample entertainment opportunities. So, I'll quickly give a brief synopsis of the beginning of this film and who the character of Deadpool is. Now, the film begins with a character called Wade Wilson, played by Ryan Reynolds, who is a title character. He's not particularly a good guy, not particularly a bad guy, but he's sort of a guy who meanders particularly into the latter, into the badder area of existence. But he's not particularly, like I say, a bad guy. He meets a fellow individual played in the form of Marina Baccarin's, I can't say his name, Baccarin's character, and they find solace in each other's sort of offbeat craziness, and they enjoy each other immensely. It's very fair to say. What then is quickly thrown into the works is the fact that Ryan Reynolds is suddenly shot down in his pomp by the fact that he's suddenly got a form of cancer, and it's a form of cancer that will quite quickly kill him. So what does he do? He doesn't take it normally. He decides to sign up for what is effectively untested treatments that could possibly cure his cancer, but also quite easily make potential side effects become apparent. And it's through this that he gains his powers, and his powers are of regeneration. And that's a common thing featured in superhero mythology, isn't it? Regeneration. Now, what is different is the fact that although it does heal, it is keeping him alive, it's not curing the cancer, if you will, from what I understand. From what I understand, it's the fact that it is regenerating the cancer cells, but not killing them. So he's going to stay alive, but through an awful amount of pain. It would become apparent. Now, I said at the beginning of this review, the fact that it's got such a audience reaction from such a reaction from an audience in America and other territories. And the reason is there's many obvious reasons in the fact that this is not a simple superhero story. This is by no means, this is a man in conflict. As I've read many sort of things, a man in conflict not only with characters in the outside world, but within himself because of the things that's going on with his body and from this treatment. So, and from what also is very, very apparent is that fact that there's many things that are replicated in the comic book that again occur here in the film. What is quite famous from the comic book is the fact that the character breaks the fourth wall quite often and without cause to the story. In fact, apparently he's well aware that he's a comic book character in a comic book. So that lends a unique angle of writing and interaction with a viewer or reader that is not often not often brought to the foray that often. So it gives you a different and most certainly unique viewing opportunity. And yes, it goes without saying regarding the fourth wall breaking that not all that sort of style it can be utilised well. It's got to be done well if it's done, because if it's just done because they can do it and because they want to do it, make a point of doing it as a stylistic choice, it's all about material and whether that moment in time that character's interaction with the audience is needed or essential. Or even if it's not, it has to be something really, really funny or some sort of that sort of thing. So it has to be handled well. Luckily, in the film, it is handled extremely well, and to the point of now what of some of the things that go on in this film is that because the Deadpool character is somebody who has usually been affiliated in comic books with the X-Men team and with that Marvel universe, he comes into interaction with a couple of mutants, to say the least. Um, Played by Brianna Hildebrand, who is Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Did I get that right? I think I got that right. And oh god, I've forgotten the actual mutant now. Colossus. Colossus. I think he's played by Stefan Kapicic. Kapicic. I can't say his name. You think he's Russian? I do not know. Apologies. So, but it's interesting in sort of interaction with the audience, with his interaction with them, and then sort of reacting to us with them. And I'm doing a terrible, terrible review of this film because it's almost somebody going into this sort of without the knowledge of what this film is not particularly not going to help, but for someone trying to describe it, it's terrible. So, the humour is top drawer. It is top drawer. For a film that is on a budget of $58 million, it looks fantastic. Those moments of action set pieces are wonderfully done. The slow motion set pieces that is done, particularly at the beginning of the film, is fabulous. The film effectively opens with a slow motion car crash. You're effectively going around the car as it's crashing, but unlike a normal sort of normal opening credits scene, what occurs here is instead of giving the actors' names, you're giving the I don't know if to spoil this or not, but it's a unique opening credits. You know, it's giving descriptions of stereotypical aspects of the characters in the film, if you will. So the villain in the film is played by Ed Skrein, Ajax or Ajax, can't remember. But he's a British actor, and in his title credit, his character is described as British villain, and that is fabulous. So it goes through all those individuals with great comedic effect. So it opens as it means to go on. Wonderful, wonderful stuff, and that is continued without the film. So there's some quite. It is a 15. How it wasn't quite an 18, I'm quite surprised. I really am quite surprised. It's not that I don't think certain 15-year-olds could handle it. I just think there's a certain level of stuff that's going in the film. I think, yeah, that probably should have been 18. But, so that for, and this is another key component of the film, clearly, because obviously in this current era of the Marvel Universe and even sort of the X-Men films, there's a effectively a PG-13 in America, isn't it? But 12A sort of certificate here, which is to encompass as many people to see the film as possible. That is not on show here at all. This film is for an adult audience, most certainly. And my God, does it play to it beautifully and wonderfully. All the bad stuff, but certainly. And and that is why it's got such the reaction. It's in part why it's got such the reaction it has from the audience, because they're seeing a film they're not seeing a lot from Hollywood these days. In fact, sort of they're seeing a film with all those comic book tendencies, but for adults. We've seen it occasionally, of course, with something like Sin City, but that was clearly, this was clearly written for adults as well. But there's so much potential for these sort of characters to engage in an adult way that is often lost because of studios or filmmakers wanting to include as big an audience as possible to see their film. I'm glad it's getting such a reaction because it's making all the money that a normal Marvel Universe film would make, or a Fox made superhero film. So it's proving to that Hollywood sort of group that we can make films just for an adult audience. You don't have to cater to every common denominator in the market out there. That's just a personal thing I've had for a while because you're not seeing enough of it. And finally they've thrown someone in it. Not enough, which is clearly joked about in the film also. But expect a Deadpool sequel very, very soon. The film is greatly. It makes such jokes at the Marvel universe as well, which is it's fantastic because it's playing around with things that you think, my God, you were so on it. You've so nailed it, and that is what is so fabulous and it's so wonderful to watch. It's not even 2 hours. It's like 1 hour and 45 minutes. I think it's 1 hour 50. And so it never overstays its sort of welcome. It's quick, it's sharp, it's witty. Ryan Reynolds is in true top form. He is on true top form, and I'm no massive fan of Ryan Reynolds at all. But what he plays well best with is characters with a mouth, someone with a sarky attitude, and this character lends him all the abilities to do that. And I'll say it caters to his abilities in that sort of skill as well. Wonderful stuff. Wonderful support from Ed. I say it. Ed Skrein is good. T.J. Miller is great as like his sidekick Weasel. I love T.J. Miller anyway from Silicon Valley, of course. But Gina Carano is like somebody who's also a Tesla who has abilities, and Brianna Hildebrand, like I say, is one of the X-Mutants. X-Mutants? One of the mutants from the X-Men. He was in great sort of comic form. So yeah, very very good. Deadpool. I'll say go and see it. You probably have already gone and seen it. I mean, the money says so, and the audience reaction says so as well. Fabulous, fabulous film. Yes, see it if you've not. So my next film I'm going to be reviewing is actually one that makes it a superhero special. And with this superhero special, I'm going right back to what could be deemed as the birth of the superhero film, as we now know it, and that is the 1978 Superman. Now, having just talked about something like Deadpool, we're going to go as far away from Deadpool in terms of the type of film this is as possible, as anybody will know. So, it's fair to say that Superman is an all-around American hero. And in some aspects, over the years, that sort of thing is the thing we've become known for, and is why we're getting such a reaction from sort of the Deadpool audience at the moment. Because Superman is kind of like I say, the all-American hero. He, at first, would appear to have no personality whatsoever. But having rewatched Superman today, and it's very, very fresh in my memory because of that fact, there's so much charm about the film. And that, in some ways, could be levelled as not a criticism, but trying to find a way of positively speaking about the film. The work that Christopher Reeve does, because I'm not going to describe the plot, because I think it's fair to say most people will know the plot of Superman. The work that Christopher Reeve does with that character gives him something that what many movies trying to get is an everyman. He is the everyman. He's the boy next door, and he is that alter ego Man of Steel. He manages to provide such comic potential in obviously the Clark Kent role, but then such machoism in the Superman role. And although there's lots of components here at play, whether it be Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, who I really really enjoy, although if Lex Luthor is kind of, how's he a villain in this sort of superhero world? It has to be discussed really in terms of the effectiveness of somebody who has no powers in a superhero film. A villain with no powers in a superhero film. But he's very entertaining. And maybe he's entertaining enough as his sort of bumbling sidekick, which is quite a stereotypical sort of role, isn't it? But also Margot Kidder. Now, yeah, it goes without saying that there's parts of the performance that I found really annoying. There's an absolute screaminess, but that is something that was very typical of the 70s, around that sort of area with women roles. But what she did lend to this role was she's an absolute feisty character, isn't she? She's ruthless, does her own thing, she gets her own way, and that is fabulous to see in a female role in a superhero film. Obviously, like I said, there's still a screamy bit, so there's a lot of damsel in distress moments, but she is able to handle herself in her other general life. Now let's go to let's go to actually the effects, because I think they're still fantastic. And there's a couple of sequences. There's the obvious fact that the old thing was about you'll believe a man can fly, and you do. It has dated a little bit, there's no doubt about it, but that is still an effect that holds up really, really well. Generally, really well. There's a particular, and this, for me, it's the helicopter scene. Now, there's a moment where Lois Lane is falling from this building after falling from the helicopter, and Superman goes down to obviously save her, and then suddenly the helicopter comes out falling on top of them towards them as well. So he saved her. He's about to catch his helicopter, and there's something about that moment that is just a wonderful cinematic moment, and you can see exactly why at the time it created such an audience reaction, and it's such why Superman is such the really, when it comes down to it, the biggest American superhero known. He manages to the effects in the film are truly wonderful. There's no doubt that some of the plot, there's a lot of whether you want to go along with that sort of Lex Luthor plot, evil plan. Yeah, there's flaws there, of course. He does a decent enough story of developing that character and showing the before of him being on Krypton with his father Marlon Brando, and then obviously him growing up. Is it Kansas? Is it Kansas or Nevada? It's all, I can't remember which one of them. I'll kick myself afterwards. But does a good job of him sort of coping with some of the abilities as he's growing up. Doesn't go into much of it, but it's 2.5 hour film, and he tries to get a lot done in that film. I think does a decent enough job of trying to tell some of these stories. I think Superman is a really, really, really good film. It's always going to be looked upon as, like I say, the birth of the superhero film, and there'll be lots of criticisms of the fact that, given this new age of superhero films, it's kind of going to lose its well. We'll see how that character is grown in, obviously, the new Batman versus Superman, Justice League, Batman versus Superman film. Because although I liked Man of Steel, I had equal apathy and equal hatred for equalness there. So yeah, we'll see if the character can progress in some way. We'll see. But Superman, the original 1978 film, I really do enjoy. It's going for laughs. It's not going for all seriousness. It is going for laughs because they probably knew at the time that sort of character, it can't be played straight completely. They're trying to do that now, which is interesting, but they played it for laughs. They got some, not all of it works. Some of the scenery flies off, and then Lois Lane goes to the door, and it's Clark Kent. That's just a classic scene. That's a brilliant scene, and that's sort of some of the disbelief of what the film gives you, and it's the effectiveness that makes it effective. So Superman, I really, really did enjoy. Yeah, so that's my classic film of the week, was the 1978 Superman. Oh, no. Before I finish, I've got to talk about the music by John Williams. Is it not one of the best pieces of film music you have ever heard? I'm sorry. That is one of the best pieces of film music ever. Having just come off the back of something like Star Wars, to then provide such another piece of music that has such gravitas and such... It is the superhero theme to end all superhero films. It is, most certainly. It's a fabulous piece of music, and I love that piece of music. Wonderful. So there we go. Superman was my classic film of the week, and Deadpool was my theatrical release film of the week, and that made it a superhero special. I've bumbled my way a lot through this review, so I apologise. I do hope you subscribe to me if you've enjoyed what you've seen. Otherwise, I do hope to see it and speak to you again sometime. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.